The vast expanse of space, once a realm of wonder and exploration for humanity, had become a battlefield of attrition. For over a century, the human race had been locked in a bitter struggle against the Zarkonian Empire, a highly advanced alien civilization that saw humanity's rapid expansion into the cosmos as a threat to their dominion. Commander Sarah Novak stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed the current state of the conflict. Red and blue indicators blinked across the three-dimensional map, representing Zarkonian and human forces respectively. The front lines had barely moved in the last decade, a testament to the stalemate that had engulfed both sides. Status report, Novak barked, her voice carrying the weight of countless battles and sleepless nights. Lieutenant Ravi Patel, her second-in-command, stepped forward. No significant changes, Commander. The Zarkonians are maintaining their defensive line in the Arcturus sector. Our long-range scanners detect increased activity near their primary shipyards, but nothing conclusive. Novak nodded, a frown creasing her weathered features. The war had reached a point where both sides could predict each other's moves with alarming accuracy. Every new weapon developed was met with an equally effective countermeasure. Every tactical innovation was quickly adapted to and neutralized. The conflict had devolved into a war of resources and willpower, with neither side willing to concede defeat. What about Project Luminous? Novak asked, referring to the latest attempt by human scientists to break the deadlock. Patel's expression tightened. Dr. Ilara Chen's team reports another setback. The quantum-entangled communication array overloaded during the last test. They're back to the drawing board. Novak suppressed a sigh. Dr. Ilara Chen was one of the brightest minds in the United Earth Federation, a quantum physicist whose theories had pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Her work on quantum entanglement had promised to revolutionize faster-than-light communication, potentially giving humanity a crucial edge in coordinating their forces across vast distances. But like so many other technological breakthroughs, it remained frustratingly out of reach. As if summoned by their discussion, a priority communication request flashed on the main screen. It was from Dr. Chen herself. "Put her through," Novak ordered, straightening her uniform. The holographic display shifted, revealing the image of a woman in her mid-40s, her black hair streaked with premature gray, her eyes bright with an intensity that bordered on mania. "Commander Novak," Dr. Chen began without preamble, "I need to speak with you immediately. In person. It's about Project Luminous." Novak raised an eyebrow. "Doctor, I've just been informed of your latest setback. What's changed in the last hour?" A smile played at the corners of Chen's lips. "Everything, Commander. I've had a breakthrough, but it's not what we were originally working on. I can't discuss it over any communication channel, no matter how secure. This could change the course of the war." The conviction in Chen's voice gave Novak pause. She had learned long ago to trust her instincts, and right now, they were telling her that this was important. "Very well, Doctor. I'll arrange for immediate transport to your facility. This had better be good." The journey to the research station orbiting Europa took less than an hour, thanks to the latest advancements in intra-system propulsion. As Novak's shuttle docked with the station, she couldn't help but feel a mix of hope and skepticism. How many times had she heard promises of game-changing technologies, only to see them fall short when faced with the harsh realities of interstellar warfare? Dr. Chen met her at the airlock, practically vibrating with excitement. Without a word, she led Novak through the labyrinthine corridors of the station, passing laboratories filled with equipment that the commander could scarcely comprehend. They entered a high-security section, passing through multiple biometric scanners before reaching a sealed chamber. Inside, a single pedestal stood in the center of the room. On it lay what appeared to be a sword, its blade shimmering with an otherworldly light. "Commander Novak," Dr. Chen said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'd like you to meet the future of warfare. This is the Quantum Blade." Novak stared at the weapon, confusion evident on her face. "A sword? Doctor, we're fighting a war across light years of space. How is this medieval weapon supposed to help us? Chen's eyes gleamed. This is no ordinary sword, Commander. The blade is composed of quantum-entangled particles, held in a state of superposition. When activated, it can cut through any known material, including Zarkonian energy shields and armor. Novik's mind raced with the implications. The Zarkonians relied heavily on their advanced defensive technologies, which had thus far rendered most human weapons ineffective. If what Dr. Chen was saying was true, how is this possible? Novik asked, her voice hushed. We were trying to create a communication system, Chen explained, but we accidentally discovered a way to weaponize quantum entanglement. The blade exists in multiple states simultaneously, allowing it to bypass traditional defenses. It's not bound by the normal laws of physics. Novik reached out, her hand hovering over the blade. May I? Chen nodded, and Novik grasped the hilt. The sword felt impossibly light, almost as if it wasn't there at all. Then, with a thought, the blade hummed to life, its edge becoming a blur of possibilities. We've only begun to scratch the surface of what this technology can do, Chen continued. But our simulations show that even a small squad armed with these blades could turn the tide of battle against vastly superior Zarkonian forces. For the first time in years, Novik felt a spark of genuine hope. The quantum blade represented more than just a new weapon. It was a paradigm shift. A return to the age-old art of close combat in an era of long-range warfare. The Zarkonians, with their reliance on advanced technology, would never see it coming. How soon can we begin production? Novik asked, her mind already formulating strategies. Chen's expression turned serious. That's where we hit a snag, Commander. The process of creating these blades is incredibly complex and resource-intensive. We can make more, but it will take time and a significant allocation of resources that are currently dedicated to other projects. Novak nodded, understanding the implicit request. She would have to convince the United Earth Federation's High Command to divert critical resources to an unproven technology. It wouldn't be easy, but as she held the quantum blade, feeling its potential thrumming through her, she knew it was necessary. Dr. Chen, Novik said, her voice filled with determination. I think it's time we change the rules of engagement. Prepare a full briefing. We're going to war with swords, and God help the Zarkonians when we do. As they left the chamber, the quantum blade deactivating and returning to its innocuous appearance, both women felt the weight of history on their shoulders. The galactic stalemate was about to be broken, and the next phase of the war would be unlike anything either side had experienced before. The age of the quantum blade had begun. The breakthrough. The cavernous war room of the United Earth Federation's High Command buzzed with tense energy. Holographic displays flickered with real-time battle data from a dozen fronts, while grim-faced officers pored over strategy simulations. At the center of it all stood Commander Sarah Novik, her steady gaze fixed on the assembled leadership of humanity's war effort. Gentlemen, ladies, Novik began, her voice cutting through the murmur of conversation. What I'm about to show you will change the course of this war. With a gesture, she activated a secure holographic projector. The image of the quantum blade materialized in the air, rotating slowly. Admiral Zhao, a veteran of countless space battles, leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as it zoomed in on the projection. A sword. Commander Novik, if this is a joke, it's in poor taste. Novik's expression remained impassive. I assure you, Admiral, this is no joke. Dr. Ilara Chen, if you would explain. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her usual lab attire replaced by a crisp military uniform that seemed to sit uncomfortably on her slender frame. What you're looking at, esteemed colleagues, is the quantum blade. It's a weapon that utilizes principles of quantum entanglement and superposition to create an edge that can cut through any known material, including Zarkonian energy shields and armor. The room erupted into a cacophony of disbelief and questions. General Martinez, head of the ground forces, slammed his fist on the table. Preposterous. We're fighting a war across light years, not reenacting medieval battles. Dr. Chen remained calm in the face of the outburst. I understand your skepticism, General. But consider this. Our current weaponry is consistently neutralized by Zarkonian defenses. We've reached a technological impasse. The quantum blade sidesteps this entirely by operating on principles that the Zarkonians have never encountered in combat. Admiral Zhao's organic eye narrowed. Even if what you're saying is true, how do you propose we use these swords in space combat? Novak stepped in. We don't. At least, not initially. We propose a new strategy. Small, elite teams equipped with quantum blades, deployed for surgical strikes against key Zarkonian installations and ships. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was General Martinez who spoke first, his voice thoughtful. Boarding actions, like the old days of naval warfare. Precisely, Novak confirmed. Our ships can get close under the guise of conventional attacks. Then, we send in the quantum blade squads. They can cut through hull plating like it's paper, disable critical systems, and potentially capture Zarkonian vessels intact. The mood in the room shifted palpably. Skepticism gave way to cautious interest as the military leaders began to see the potential. But it was Fleet Admiral Yamato, silent until now, who asked the crucial question. This all sounds promising in theory, Commander. But have you actually tested these weapons in combat conditions? Novak exchanged a glance with Dr. Chen. We have. Admiral, 2 days ago, we conducted a covert operation against a small Zarkonian outpost in the Kuiper Belt. I'd like to show you the footage. The holographic display changed, showing a team of human soldiers approaching the Zarkonian structure. Their suits were sleek, designed for stealth and maneuverability. Each carried a deactivated quantum blade. The assembled leadership watched in stunned silence as the operation unfolded. The human team encountered a Zarkonian patrol, their energy weapons flaring to life. But instead of the expected firefight, the humans closed the distance with inhuman speed. The quantum blades ignited, shimmering with otherworldly energy. What followed was nothing short of revolutionary. The blades passed through Zarkonian energy shields as if they didn't exist, cleaving through advanced alien armor with ease. The patrol was neutralized in seconds, without a single shot fired. The footage continued, showing the team infiltrating the outpost. They moved like ghosts, cutting through locked doors and defensive barriers. Critical systems were disabled with precision strikes, and within minutes, the entire outpost was under human control. As the display faded, the war room remained silent. It was Admiral Zhao who finally spoke, his voice filled with a mix of awe and strategic calculation. My God, they never stood a chance. Novak nodded gravely. The Zarkonians have grown complacent, relying on their technological superiority. The quantum blades negate that advantage entirely. But there's more. She turned to Dr. Chen. Doctor, please explain the secondary effect. Chen stepped forward again. As you saw, the quantum blades are devastating in combat, but they also have an unintended consequence that may prove even more valuable. The quantum entangled particles in the blade leave a trace in anything they cut. This trace disrupts Zarkonian technology on a fundamental level. Their systems malfunction, their energy weapons become unreliable. It's as if the very laws of physics are working against them. General Martinez leaned back, a grim smile on his face. Psychological warfare. They won't just fear our weapons. They'll fear what our weapons do to their precious technology. Fleet Admiral Yamato stood, her decision made. Commander Novak, Dr. Chen, you have the full support of High Command. Whatever resources you need to mass-produce these quantum blades, you'll have them. But I want results, and I want them quickly. The Zarkonians won't remain ignorant of this new threat for long. Novak saluted crisply. Understood, Admiral. We'll begin immediate production and training of our first quantum blade squadrons. The Zarkonians won't know what hit them. As the meeting adjourned, the atmosphere in the war room had transformed. For the first time in decades, there was a palpable sense of hope, of momentum shifting in humanity's favor. Dr. Chen approached Novak as the others filed out. "Well, that went better than expected," she said, relief evident in her voice. Novak allowed herself a small smile. "It did. But now the real work begins. We need to produce these blades on a massive scale, train soldiers to use them effectively, and develop entirely new tactics. And we need to do it all before the Zarkonians figure out what's happening." Chen nodded, her expression turning serious. "I'll get my team working around the clock. We'll set up production facilities on every major colony. But Sarah," she said, using the commander's first name for the first time, "there's something you should know." Novak raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "The quantum entanglement. It's not just affecting Zarkonian technology. It's having subtle effects on our systems too. Nothing major yet, but I'm concerned about long-term exposure." Novik's jaw tightened. "Can you mitigate it?" Chen shook her head. "Not yet. We're working on it, but it's like we're playing with forces we don't fully understand." For a moment, Novak was silent, weighing the risks against the potential to finally end this devastating war. "Keep working on it," she said finally. "But for now, we proceed as planned. The Zarkonians have pushed us to the brink of extinction. If we have to bend the laws of physics to survive, so be it." As they left the war room, both women felt the weight of their decisions. The quantum blades represented hope, but also a step into the unknown. The tide of war was about to turn, but at what cost? The age of conventional warfare was over. The era of quantum combat had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The tide turns. The hangar bay of the UES Nemesis thrummed with nervous energy as squad leader Maya Ortiz surveyed her team. 20 of humanity's finest soldiers stood at attention, each equipped with the sleek, form-fitting armor designed specifically for quantum blade operations. At their hips hung the deactivated blades, innocuous in appearance, but holding the power to change the course of the war. "Listen up, Phantoms," Ortiz called out, using the nickname that had quickly spread through the ranks for the quantum blade squads. "This is what we've been training for. In 10 minutes, we drop into the Zarkonian shipyard orbiting Proxima Centauri b. Our objective: disable their production capabilities and capture any intel we can on their latest ship designs." She paused, making eye contact with each member of her squad. "Remember, the Zarkonians still don't know what they're up against. Use that surprise to your advantage, but don't get cocky. One lucky shot from their energy weapons, and you're done. Move fast, strike hard, and watch each other's backs." "Any questions?" Silence met her words, each soldier's face a mask of determination. They had all seen the footage of the first quantum blade operation, had spent months training with the new weapons. Now it was time to put that training to the test. "All right, Phantoms. To your drop pods. See you planetside." As the squad moved out, Ortiz felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Commander Novak, her expression a mix of pride and concern. "How are they holding up?" Novak asked quietly. Ortiz squared her shoulders. "They're ready, Commander. We all are." Novak nodded. "Good, because if this operation succeeds, we'll be launching similar strikes across a dozen systems. This is our chance to push the Zarkonians back, maybe even force them to the negotiating table." "We won't let you down, ma'am," Ortiz assured her. As Ortiz made her way to her own drop pod, Novak's voice came over the comm. "All ships, commence diversionary attacks. Give our Phantoms the opening they need." The space around Proxima Centauri b erupted into chaos as the human fleet engaged the Zarkonian defenses. Energy beams and missile salvos crisscrossed the void, a deadly light show that masked the small, stealthy pods dropping towards the shipyard. Ortiz felt the familiar lurch as her pod detached from the Nemesis, plummeting through the planet's thin atmosphere. The exterior heated to a cherry red, but the advanced heat shielding kept the interior cool. As they neared the shipyard, retro thrusters fired, slowing their descent to a manageable speed. With a bone-jarring impact, the pods landed on the outer hull of the massive Zirconian structure. Ortiz was out in seconds, her quantum blade igniting with a soft hum. Around her, the rest of the squad emerged, their blades casting an eerie, shimmering light across the alien metal. "Move out," Ortiz ordered, and as one, the phantoms began to cut their way into the shipyard. The Zirconian response was almost comically delayed. By the time alarms began to blare, Ortiz and her team were already 3 levels deep into the facility. They encountered the first real resistance in a wide corridor leading to the main production area. A squad of Zirconian soldiers, their insectoid features hidden behind sleek battle armor, opened fire with their energy rifles. But the phantoms were ready. They split into practiced formations, some using their blades to deflect the energy bolts while others closed the distance with inhuman speed. Ortiz felt a fierce joy as she engaged the enemy. Her quantum blade sliced through Zirconian armor like it was tissue paper, the alien metal parting with barely any resistance. Around her, her squad was equally effective. In less than a minute, the Zirconian defenders lay dead or incapacitated, their advanced weapons and armor rendered useless against this new impossible weapon. "Central Control, this is Phantom Lead," Ortiz reported as they moved deeper into the facility. "We've breached the outer defenses and are proceeding to the main production floor." "Copy that, Phantom Lead." Novik's voice crackled over the comm. "Be advised, we're detecting increased Zirconian activity. They're starting to realize this isn't just another raid." Ortiz acknowledged the warning, but she couldn't suppress a grin. Let them come. The quantum blades had proven more effective than even their most optimistic projections. As they reached the vast chamber housing the shipyard's production lines, the true scale of their advantage became clear. Zirconian workers fled in panic at the sight of the human intruders, their fear palpable. Those who tried to fight were quickly overwhelmed. "Plant the charges," Ortiz ordered, indicating the massive fabricators and assembly robots, "and download everything you can from their central computers." Her squad moved with practiced efficiency, setting explosive charges at key points, while others hacked into the Zirconian systems. The alien technology, so long a source of human frustration, now seemed primitive in the face of the quantum-entangled data intrusion methods developed alongside the blades. But the Zirconians weren't about to give up their prized shipyard without a fight. As the last charges were being set, a new alarm sounded, different from the others. "Phantom Lead, be advised." Novik's urgent voice came over the comm. "We're detecting a massive energy buildup in your vicinity. Possible self-destruct sequence." Ortiz felt her blood run cold. "Understood. Phantoms, abort mission. Fall back to extraction points immediately." The squad began to retreat, but the shipyard was already changing around them. Blast doors slammed shut, cutting off their escape routes. Energy fields sprang to life, creating impassable barriers. Or so the Zirconians thought. "Blades out," Ortiz shouted. "Cut through everything." The phantoms unleashed the full power of their quantum blades, slicing through blast doors and energy fields alike. The Zirconian defenses, designed to be impenetrable, offered no more resistance than air. As they fought their way back to the surface, Ortiz couldn't help but marvel at the devastation they left in their wake. It wasn't just the physical damage, extensive as it was. Everywhere the quantum blades touched, Zirconian systems went haywire. Lights flickered, gravity plating malfunctioned, and weapon systems refused to fire. They reached their extraction point with seconds to spare, piling into the waiting shuttles just as the first explosions began to rock the shipyard. As they sped away, Ortiz watched through the viewscreen as the massive structure broke apart, secondary explosions turning the once proud symbol of Zirconian industrial might into a rapidly expanding debris field. Back on the UES Nemesis, the mood was one of disbelief and elation. Similar reports were coming in from across the sector. Quantum blade strikes had crippled Zarkonian installations on a dozen worlds. For the first time in living memory, the seemingly invincible alien empire was on the back foot. Commander Novik met Ortiz as she stepped off the shuttle, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and awe. "Outstanding work, squad leader. Your team's performance was beyond our wildest expectations." Ortiz saluted crisply. "Thank you, Commander. But I have to ask, what now?" Novik's expression turned grim. Now we press our advantage. The Zarkonians are reeling, but they're not beaten. Not yet. We've struck the first blow, but the real war is just beginning." As the Nemesis and the rest of the human fleet prepared to jump to their next target, Ortiz couldn't shake a feeling of unease. They had changed the rules of engagement, turned the tide of a war that had seemed unwinnable. But at what cost? The quantum blades were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, and their full effects were still unknown. One thing was certain: the age of conventional warfare was over. A new era had begun, one where the very fabric of reality was a weapon. And humanity, for better or worse, was leading the charge into this brave new world. The tide had turned, but the storm was far from over. The Zarkonian counterattack. The holographic war room of the Zarkonian High Command pulsed with an angry red light, mirroring the fury of the assembled alien leaders. Supreme Commander Zexkrull, his chitness exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh illumination, glared at the tactical display, showing the extent of their recent losses. "Impossible," he chittered, mandibles clicking in agitation. "How could the humans have developed such a weapon? Our intelligence suggested they were years away from any significant breakthrough." Science Director Narration stepped forward, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the holographic carnage. "Supreme Commander, we've analyzed the data from the attacks. The humans are using some form of quantum entangled technology that our sensors struggle to detect. It bypasses our shields and disrupts our systems on a fundamental level." Zexkrull's antennae twitched in irritation. "Can we counter it?" Narivex's hesitation was answer enough, but she pressed on. "We're working on it, Supreme Commander. But the quantum nature of their weapon makes traditional defenses obsolete. We need time to develop new countermeasures." "Time is a luxury we no longer have," Zexkrull snapped. "The humans are pushing into our core systems. If we don't stop them soon, the Empire will crumble." War strategist Koldrak, silent until now, spoke up. "Then we must change our tactics. If we cannot defend against their new weapon, we must prevent them from using it." All eyes in the room turned to Koldrak. Zexkrull's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Explain." Koldrak manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on key human strongholds. "The humans rely on close-quarters combat with these quantum blades. We've been fighting defensively, allowing them to choose the battlefield. I propose we launch a massive offensive, targeting their production facilities and training centers. We'll use our superior numbers and long-range capabilities to keep them at a distance." Zexkrull considered the proposal. It was risky, committing so much of their fleet to an all-out assault. But the alternative was a slow, inexorable defeat. "Very well, strategist Koldrak. Prepare the fleet. We'll show these humans that the Zarkonian Empire is not so easily defeated." As the Zarkonian leadership dispersed to prepare for the coming battle, none of them noticed the small anomaly. In the corner of the holographic display, a quantum fluctuation, barely perceptible, that shouldn't have been there. On board the UES Horizon, Dr. Ilara Chen stared at her monitors in disbelief. "Commander Novik, you need to see this." Sarah Novak strode over, her brow furrowed. "What is it, Doctor?" Chen pointed to a stream of data scrolling across her screen. "We're picking up Zarkonian communications, massive fleet movements, redeployment of resources. They're planning something big." Novik's eyes widened. "How? Our intelligence networks haven't reported any of this." A grim smile played across Chen's lips. "They didn't need to. Remember the quantum trace left by the blades. It's not just disrupting their technology. It's creating a kind of quantum entanglement network. We're passively receiving data through the very fabric of space-time. Novak absorbed this information, her tactical mind already racing. Can they detect this? Could they feed us false information? Chen shook her head. I don't think so. They don't even seem to be aware of it. But Sarah, she added, her voice low, this goes beyond anything we've encountered before. We're tapping into the fundamental forces of the universe. The long-term consequences could be catastrophic, I know, Novak finished. But right now, we need every advantage we can get. What are the Zarkonians planning? Chen pulled up a tactical display, eerily similar to the one in the Zarkonian war room. A massive counteroffensive. They're targeting our production facilities, trying to cut off our supply of quantum blades. Novik's jaw set in a hard line. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. Alert High Command. We need to prepare our defenses. As alarms blared across the human fleet, the Zarkonian armada was already on the move. Thousands of ships, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, poured out of hyperspace near key human worlds. The sky above Earth's colonies blazed with weapons fire as the Zarkonians unleashed their full fury. On New Terra, the largest human colony outside the solar system, squad leader Maya Ortiz and her phantoms found themselves on the defensive for the first time since receiving their quantum blades. They're keeping their distance, Ortiz shouted over the din of battle, deflecting energy bolts with her blade. We can't get close enough to engage. Around her, the city burned. Zarkonian ships hung in low orbit, raining destruction from above, while ground forces pressed in from all sides. The quantum blade squads, so effective in surgical strikes, now struggled against the sheer volume of firepower directed their way. Fall back to the Citadel, Ortiz ordered, leading her team through the chaos of urban combat. Civilians ran screaming as buildings crumbled under the Zarkonian barrage. The phantoms did what they could, cutting through debris to clear escape routes and taking out any alien forces that got too close. As they neared the reinforced walls of the colonial citadel, a massive explosion rocked the ground. Ortiz looked up to see a Zarkonian dreadnought descending through the atmosphere, its hull bristling with weapons. They're going to level the entire city, she realized with horror. Command, we need orbital support now. But the human fleet was stretched thin, engaged in desperate battles across a dozen systems. As Ortiz watched, the dreadnought's main cannon began to glow with building energy. In moments, the colonial capital would be reduced to ash. Suddenly, a blinding light split the sky. A human cruiser, its hull scared and burning, plummeted through the atmosphere on a collision course with the Zarkonian dreadnought. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the UES Defiant. A voice crackled over the general comm. All ground forces, braced for impact. Ortiz had just enough time to shout a warning before the Defiant slammed into the dreadnought. The resulting explosion was like a miniature sun, briefly turning night to day. When Ortiz's vision cleared, both ships were gone, replaced by a rain of debris. In the stunned silence that followed, Ortiz realized the Zarkonian attack had faltered. Without the dreadnought to coordinate their efforts, the alien forces began to fall into disarray. Phantoms, this is our chance, she called out. Push them back. With renewed vigor, the quantum blade squads surged forward. They may not have been able to reach the ships in orbit, but the ground forces were another matter. Ortiz felt a grim satisfaction as her blade cut through Zarkonian armor, the alien soldiers' confusion turning to terror as they faced a weapon they couldn't comprehend. As the battle for New Terra raged on, similar scenes played out across human space. The Zarkonian offensive was blunted by a combination of desperate heroism and the game-changing power of the quantum blades. But the cost was staggering. Entire colonies reduced to rubble, millions of lives lost on both sides. Back on the UES horizon, Commander Novak watched the casualty reports roll in with a heavy heart. They had survived the Zarkonian counterattack, but just barely. And the war was far from over. Dr. Chen, she said, turning to the exhausted scientist, we need to end this. The quantum blades gave us an edge, but the Zarkonians are adapting. We need something more. Chen nodded, her eyes blazing with determination. I have some ideas, Commander, but I'll need full access to all our resources, and, she hesitated, we'll be pushing the boundaries of physics even further. The risks are necessary, Novik finished. Whatever it takes, Doctor. We end this war, here and now. As the two women left the bridge, the quantum entanglement network pulsed with unseen energy. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to shudder, as if aware of the forces being brought to bear. The final confrontation was coming, and its outcome would determine the fate not just of humanity and the Zarkonians, but of the very nature of reality itself. The universe held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. The final confrontation. The Orion Nebula blazed with ethereal light, its vast clouds of gas and dust forming a cosmic arena for the final battle between humanity and the Zarkonian Empire. Two massive fleets faced each other across the void, their numbers beyond counting. On one side, the sleek organic shapes of Zarkonian vessels, their hulls gleaming with an alien bioluminescence. On the other, the angular, utilitarian designs of human warships, modified and enhanced with the latest quantum technology. Aboard the UES Horizon, now the flagship of the human fleet, Commander Sarah Novak stood before a holographic display of the battlefield. Her face, lined with the stress of years of war, was set in grim determination. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Lieutenant Patel, his uniform bearing the scars of recent battles, stepped forward. "All ships report ready, Commander. Quantum blade squads are prepped for deployment. Dr. Chen's enhancements are online and functional." Novak nodded, her gaze never leaving the tactical display. "And the Zarkonians?" "Holding position, ma'am. They seem to be waiting for us to make the first move." A ghost of a smile played across Novik's lips. "Then let's not disappoint them. All ships, battle formation Delta, prepare to engage." As the human fleet began to move, Dr. Ilara Chen entered the bridge, her lab coat replaced by a form-fitting suit covered in a web of glowing circuitry. "Commander, a word." Novak stepped aside with Chen, speaking in low tones. "Is it ready?" Chen nodded, her eyes burning with a mixture of excitement and fear. "The quantum resonance matrix is online. Every ship in the fleet, every quantum blade, they're all linked now. But Sarah," she added, her voice dropping even lower, "the power we're tapping into, it's beyond anything we've ever attempted. The fabric of space-time itself is starting to show signs of strain." Novik's jaw tightened. "Can we control it?" "I think so. But once we activate the matrix at full power, there's no going back. The laws of physics as we know them, they might never be the same." For a moment, Novak was silent, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. Then she straightened, her resolve hardening. "The Zarkonians pushed us to this point, Doctor. If we have to rewrite the laws of the universe to survive, so be it." As if in response to her words, the Zarkonian fleet suddenly surged forward. Thousands of energy beams lanced out, crossing the vast distance between the fleets in an instant. "Evasive maneuvers," Novak shouted. "Activate quantum shields." The space around the human ships shimmered as the new defenses sprang to life. Based on the same principles as the quantum blades, these shields existed in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously present and not present at every point. Zarkonian energy weapons passed through harmlessly, their beams disrupted by the quantum field. "Return fire," Novak ordered. "Launch phantom squads." Human ships unleashed their own barrage. Conventional weapons mixed with new quantum-based armaments. Swarms of small craft erupted from launch bays, each carrying teams of quantum blade warriors. In the heart of the Zarkonian fleet, Supreme Commander Zex Krull watched the battle unfold with growing unease. Status of the human defenses, he demanded. War strategist Koldrak's mandibles clicked in agitation. Unknown, Supreme Commander. Our weapons appear to be passing through their ships without effect, and our long-range sensors are malfunctioning. There's some kind of quantum interference. Zexkrol's compound eyes narrowed. Launch all fighters. Prepare for close-range engagement. We'll overwhelm them with sheer numbers if we have to. The space between the fleets became a maelstrom of energy weapons, missiles, and small craft. Zarkonian bioships clashed with human vessels in desperate close-quarters combat. But it was in these engagements that the true power of the quantum blades became apparent. Squad leader Maya Ortiz led her Phantom team through the hull breach of a Zarkonian dreadnought, their quantum blades humming with otherworldly energy. As they carved their way through the alien ship, Ortiz felt a new sensation. The quantum resonance matrix that Dr. Chen had created linked her not just to her squad, but to every quantum blade wielder in the fleet. She could sense their movements, their intentions, as if they were extensions of her own body. Push to the bridge, Ortiz ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. We take out their command. We win this battle. As the Phantoms fought their way through the Zarkonian ship, something unprecedented began to happen. The quantum entanglement effect of their blades, amplified by the resonance matrix, started to spread. Zarkonian technology began to fail on a massive scale. Weapons misfired, shields collapsed, and navigation systems went haywire. Back on the UES horizon, Dr. Chen stared at her monitors in awe and horror. Commander, the Matrix. It's exceeding all projected parameters. The quantum effect is propagating through the entire Zarkonian fleet. Novik leaned forward, her eyes blazing. This is our chance. All ships, press the attack. Don't let up. The human fleet surged forward, their weapons tearing into the suddenly vulnerable Zarkonian ships. Quantum blade squads wreaked havoc on any vessel they boarded, their actions amplified and coordinated by the resonance matrix. In the heart of the Zarkonian flagship, Ortiz and her team finally breached the command center. Supreme Commander Zexkrol turned to face them, his alien features twisted in a mixture of rage and disbelief. Impossible, he chittered. How could you primitives have mastered such power? Ortiz raised her quantum blade, its edge shimmering with the potential of countless realities. You pushed us to the brink of extinction, she said, her voice steady. We had no choice but to push back. With a final, desperate cry, Zexkrol charged. Ortiz's blade moved with impossible speed, guided by the collective will of every quantum blade wielder in the fleet. In a flash of light that seemed to bend the very fabric of space, the supreme commander of the Zarkonian Empire fell. Across the battlefield, the effect was immediate. With their command structure in chaos and their technology failing, the Zarkonian fleet began to break apart. Ships surrendered or fled, while others, driven mad by the quantum interference, turned on their own allies. As the last of the Zarkonian resistance crumbled, a stunned silence fell over the human fleet. They had done it. They had won. But the victory came at a cost. As the quantum resonance matrix powered down, Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm, tight with concern. Commander, we have a problem. The quantum effects, they're not dissipating as expected. The very fabric of space-time in this region is starting to unravel. Novik's blood ran cold. Can we stop it? Chen's hesitation was answer enough. I don't know. We've tapped into forces beyond our full understanding. The laws of physics themselves are in flux. As if to underscore her words, the space around the Orion nebula began to shimmer and twist. Stars blinked in and out of existence, and the boundaries between realities began to blur. Novik made a quick decision. All ships fall back to minimum safe distance. Dr. Chen, do what you can to contain the effect. As the human fleet retreated, leaving behind the broken remnants of the Zarkonian Armada, the Orion Nebula underwent a stunning transformation. Colors shifted and swirled, new patterns of stars and gas emerging, and fading like a cosmic light show. Days later, as the effect finally began to stabilize, Novak stood on the observation deck of the UES horizon, staring out at the changed face of the nebula. Dr. Chen joined her face etched with a mixture of wonder and guilt. "What have we done, Ilara?" Novak asked softly. Chen shook her head. "I'm not sure we'll ever fully understand, but preliminary scans show that the laws of physics in that region have been permanently altered. It's like we've created a pocket universe with its own set of rules." Novak was silent for a long moment. "And the Zarkonians? Those caught in the effect, they're gone. Not dead, exactly, but transformed. Evolved, maybe, into something beyond our comprehension." As they watched, flashes of light pulsed within the nebula, hinting at energies and life forms beyond human understanding. "So we won the war," Novak said, her voice heavy with the weight of their actions. "Yes," Chen replied. "But at what cost? And where do we go from here?" Novak turned away from the window, her face set with determination. "We learn, we adapt, and we make damn sure we never have to go this far again." As the UES horizon began its long journey back to Earth, the transformed Orion Nebula pulsed behind them, a stark reminder of the power they had unleashed and the responsibility that came with it. The war was over, but humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. In rewriting the laws of physics to save themselves, they had opened the door to a new era of exploration, danger, and cosmic mystery. The universe would never be the same, and neither would they. The quantum blade uprising had ended, but the true awakening of humanity had only just begun.